Hey, what's up guys, Bajheera here. So, good news, the Games and Gain shirts by popular demand are back once again. This is actually round 5 of these Games and Gain shirts, but you guys can't seem to get enough of them, so I'm more than happy to put them back up for you guys, so you can rep your love and support for that Games and Gains lifestyle. So these shirts are going to be available until November 5th, so be sure to get yours while they last. Thank you guys so much for your support of these t-shirt campaigns. You rock, and be sure to tweet me pictures once you get your shirts. Either way, guys, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoy the video. Hey, what's up guys, Bajheera here. Now for this video, we're going to have some 2400 Fury Warrior 3v3 arena matches as KFC, or Kung Fu Cleave, which does stand for Warrior Hunter Healer. Now this is one of my favorite comps of all time. Unfortunately, nowadays it's not as powerful, but that's not stopping me from giving it a try, having fun with my friends, and kicking butt in the arena. So, what this comp is based around, as we've talked about a little bit before, is chaining lots of CC on the enemy team's healer, and then bursting as hard as we can to try to score a kill on a squishy DPS. And this first game is just a really easy example of that. You saw me heroic leap in there to land the fear, Stormbolt out of the fear, my hunter landed a trap off of my Stormbolt, and meanwhile we're popping Recklessness, Avatar, On-Use Trinket, and even though that Shaman did a great job tremoring my fear, our damage and CC, which is a little bit too much, ended up scoring the kill. So this match is going to look very similar. I'm going to charge in, land a Stormbolt on the enemy team Shaman, that my Hunter's going to follow up with a trap, and since we've got so many cooldowns, pop them, we are chunking the enemy team's Warlock so much that it's going to force a Spirit Link out of the Shaman. I'm going to fear that Shaman right out of that and continue the damage. At this point, we don't have a lot of CC, so we're just sort of waiting for our next CC chain to line up while continuing to work with the pressure that we've got. I'm going to land a Stormbolt on the Shaman, and we're going to follow it up with a trap once again. My Hunter is playing Survival right now, which does change the way that this comp plays a little bit. If your Hunter's playing BM, then they're only going to be able to trap every 30 seconds. So you might want to hold your Stormbolt only for when your Hunter can trap. However, if you're playing Survival Hunter and Anger Management, both the Stormbolt cooldown and the trap cooldown are going to be reduced, so your textbook Stormbolt into trap combo is going to roll around a lot more often. Another thing that my Hunter can do is Wyvern Sting, so we do have a lot of CC to put this enemy team Shaman in, and as you can see, even with cooldowns popped, he's still having a hard time topping his Warlock's health off. Now we've got all these guys stacked up all in one spot because they're anticipating another trap. I'm just going to go ahead and kick the Haunt here because I'm not worried about kicking the Shaman as much because I know I have a Stormbolt rolling around. I'm going to use that right after the silencing shot. Hit him with the Stormbolt. Once again, these guys are just a little bit too far behind. We've been able to exert our strategy on them. Now keep in mind, all of our health is pretty low. So even when KFC is able to play really aggressive and force cooldowns, it's still a somewhat fragile composition. I got to hit my boy Swole with the flex real quick there. What's up, dude? And KFC, like I said, it's still a pretty fragile comp. It's not amazing right now, but one of the fun things about playing a comp like this is it can be effective, and it can beat some of the more powerful compositions out there. We seem to do okay against RMD. I mean, like 2400 RMD is different than 2800 RMD, obviously, but we can do okay against RMD. We can do okay against Turbo, and we can do okay against WLS. So those are you know, some comps that you're gonna see you know, when you're queuing arena. Now these guys right here, these guys definitely beat us more times than we beat them, but I will show you a way in which when KFC finally gets all the CC that they need, we play pretty sharp. You definitely can beat even a pretty darn good Turbo. What's funny is that these guys are all on alts, but are still pretty damn good Turbo, like I said, so shoutouts to them for being good all-around WoW players, man. But anyway, so against Turbo Cleave, you're going to have to get through a lot of cooldowns. These guys have, you know, grounding totems, tremor totems, that sometimes they'll play mass spell reflect. A lot of ways to stop you from getting CC on their team's Resto Druid. So what we're going to try to do is layer some CC on the Shaman while going for CC on the Druid as well. So you can see the Shaman's got his grounding totem down. He's anticipating the trap, and breaking up the CC chain is exactly what these guys need to do. My Hunter is good enough to be able to eventually land traps on his own, but it's a lot more difficult to land traps and to move around the map when you've got 2 melee beating on you the whole time. So we're definitely going to have to find a way to help my Hunter land some traps. So once again, we're going to wait for Stormbolt to roll around again, and we're going to land the trap off of that, but the Druid does have Trinket for this. So our main strategy at this point is to, you know, keep ourselves alive, obviously. We're going to continue to train these DPS, try to get them off of my Hunter, meanwhile trying to land CC on the enemy team's Resto Druid as much as possible. Their strategy is, for the most part, at least in this game, to train my Hunter. They do have the potential to go to healer swaps, and they may do that even a little bit in this game. They could even hit me if they wanted to. Turbo's a very powerful, versatile comp, and they have a lot of options. Whereas a lot of what we want to do is mainly just to hit the Shaman the whole game. Now, one of the things that you've seen us do before against Turbo Cleave is when the Druid doesn't have a trinket, we can make a swap to him. But since we're playing Survival, our burst and a stun potential is a little bit decreased. Honestly, I think that BM KFC is a little bit better than Survival KFC, but my Hunter prefers to play Survival, and it definitely has its merits, especially when you're facing melee cleave to play Survival. Yeah, that does sort of eliminate one of the strategies that you can employ against Turbo Cleave. You can't really burst quite as hard with your Hunter in a stun. So our best option at this point is to continue to train this Shaman. You know, rotate through cooldowns, try to line up, because if we start landing really sharp CC, you know, right there, my Hunter goes for a trap on his own. We're breaking up the combo a little bit, which means that I'm going to try to land a stun out of his trap. And that alone, once we finally get CC, it's going to be a huge deal. I'm even going to be able to leap across the map and fear him. Not sure if that play is worth it, but it might be, because the Druid's going to sit that full, which is going to allow us to time out some of these cooldowns that they've used, and have my Hunter continue to do a lot of damage after that. Now, we're at a CC at this point, but in order to maintain pressure, I'm just going to go ahead and pop a little bit of my cooldowns. I'm going to use my my Recklessness and Avatar here, hit the Druid with another stun, just try to layer this as much as possible. With Survival, it's a lot less about just absolute bursts coming from the Hunter, and more about steady pressure and steady CC. That's the sacrifice that you make playing Survival KFC. Fortunately for us, that sacrifice of a little bit of damage for CC is actually exactly what we needed here. Because remember, with the stun into the fear combo we did a little while earlier, that allowed the Sham Rage to be used in that situation, which just a little bit more CC from us and a little bit more damage is what's able to score the kill on that defenseless Shaman at that point. So when everything goes well, KFC can be effective. It definitely is a tougher comp to run than some of the tier 1 comps, but for new arena players or people just looking to try a different comp out to see how it goes, to have some fun, try out KFC. It's still one of my absolute favorites, just in terms of the way you play it. If you have like a friend that's a Hunter, it's really fun, because a lot of times, like in terms of defensively, the communication is mostly between the Hunter and the healer, but offensively, the communication is definitely Warrior Hunter in terms of what CC you have available, you know, when you have damage. It is one of those comps that Warriors can play that's like, okay, 3, 2, 1, go kind of thing. And then you pop all your cooldowns, do a lot of damage. That's a lot of fun. So this is an extremely awkward beginning to the game for me. I turned off my UI while going for the fear, didn't land the fear, but popped parry. So this is like, all right, dude, I'm not really sure what you're doing here, Mr. Warrior, but we're going to try to make the best out of it. So definitely not the opener I was looking for. A lot of times against RMD, the opener that you want to use is go ahead and trinket. Don't trink. I wouldn't necessarily recommend trinketing the cheap shot, because usually the clone is coming really soon after, and it'd be really awkward if you got cloned. But you can definitely trinket the clone and get a fear on the Druid. I do land the fear on the Druid even if it's a little bit late. Luckily for us, we're still able to hang in this match right now. We're forcing an ice block. All that's good stuff. The Druid does not have a trinket either. I don't have my fear for a while, obviously, but I do have my Stormbolt coming up pretty soon. And the more I'm spending rage, and Fury does have a pretty intense rage cost, because Wild Strikes do cost a lot of rage. So if you're able to generate, you know, a lot of rage spending through Wild Strikes, then your cooldown's going to come up a lot more often with that Stormbolt. So we're going to land a Stormbolt trap here, and even though the beginning of the game was really awkward for me, you're actually able to see the momentum begin to shift into our favor. We're going to force a second ice block at this point, and these guys are trying to connect to my Hunter, but since he's Survival, he is able to kite a little bit better away from the Rogue. Of course, Rogues get to stick to their target if they want to, but when the Mage is ice blocked, I'm just going to mostly attack the Water Elemental instead of trying to chase the Rogue. If we can get the Water Elemental low, that's great, and I do catch that Druid in a nice little Spell Reflect there. I'm not sure I was paying attention or not, but I was watching him. A lot of times Druids will fake your Reflect, and that's pretty annoying, but this guy actually went for it, and my gamble of going for the Reflect worked out that time, so able to catch him in a Cyclone Reflect, which chained into his Stormbolt, followed by a Wyvern Sting, so the Cyclone gave us a little bit of extra CC that allowed us to score the kill and finish off this match against RMD. So RMD is a tough matchup for KFC if they play super, super sharp, but that's pretty much the case with anything against RMD. RMD can play super sharp and be a struggle for any comp. But if you play sharp against RMD, you definitely have a chance of winning this. You know, the amount of damage that you can do to a Mage in a long CC chain is pretty intense. So basically what you got to look out for is protecting your team where you can. We're going to see this exact team once again. So my opener's not as bad as it was last time, but I do get a Reflect on the Polymorph initially, and without having to trinket, I'm able to fear the druid as well. So right now, we're already in a great position. I don't have to use any sort of cooldowns, and we're forcing cooldowns out of the enemy team. So I've got a lot of offensive cooldowns pop right now, and we're chunking the mage. If we can get an ice block here, that's pretty much the name of the game for us. The druid's still in a trap for 1 more second. I'm going to get Kitty to peel, but my hunter's going to land a Wyvern Sting on the druid, which is going to make the mage have to pillar once again. I'm finally out of CC right here, and I have a little bit more damage for him, but we're not going to get an ice block. So in terms of what we forced out of each other, I did not trinket that in the beginning, which doesn't really matter that much. My trinket's not the most important trinket in this game. That's one of the reasons why you kind of just use it early to prevent their opening setup. But even though we didn't get the ice block in the beginning, we finally forced it there with the Stormbolt, Knock Trap, into Frost Trap combo. So now this mage has still 4 seconds on his druid being in CC, and really no ice blocks to speak of, so we're actually just going to be able to score the kill there. So a lot of things weren't really used from us in the beginning, but one of the fun things about KFC is if you can get creative with your CC, with what you have available to you, then sometimes you can catch a team off guard. They're not really sure what sort of CC they need to trinket, you know, what sort of cooldowns they need to use when they get Stormbolt Knock trapped in the trap, you know. It's kind of like a strange combo, but it worked out really well, and it definitely, for a hunter, this could be a really fun comp to play just because you do get to play around with your CC so much. Warrior doesn't bring as much CC to the table as something else. It doesn't bring as much damage to the table as like a feral. You know, Jungle Cleave is pretty much better in every way, but you know, if you're a hunter or warrior and you want to play a fun 3-3 arena comp, this is probably my favorite. I've been playing this one for a long time. So once again, we're up against another RMD. RMD is something that you're going to be seeing fairly often when you're queuing 3v3 arena, but as KFC, it doesn't have to be something that you're instantly just like, I hate this comp. So our just basic initial CC chain, no trinkets forced, but we did force an ice block, which is great. I'm going to be able to fear the druid out of that, so once again, pretty good opener for us. I did not get cheap shotted into clone or anything like that, and I've got Avatar up with on use still, and the druid is in a Wyvern Sting, and the rogue is in a trap, so this is pretty much a 3v1 scenario for this poor mage. Unfortunately, we're going to get peeled just a little bit here, but our CC is rolling back around. Another Stormbolt here. I'm able to land a kick on the Polymorph. That's one of the main things that you want to do as a warrior when you're fighting against RMD, is you really want to try to stop as much CC on your healer as possible. That's one of the reasons that I use Master Spell Reflect against that a lot of times. Try to catch those clones and polymorphs, even when they're not even on you. You know, that's preventing a lot of CC on your team, especially when you're playing with a Holy Paladin. They have a lot of big cooldowns, you know, to save your team's health bars. Sometimes they just need a little bit of help getting out of CC or preventing CC. So we're going to force the mage's ice block here, and this is an excellent example of when to shatter. We have CC coming for this Resto Druid, and the mage is pretty much already at half health instantly after I shatter him. So this is a great time to use Shattering Throw. The druid can't save him. We've got a lot of damage coming, even though the druid is able to cast a gigantic heal to top his mage off. Things are starting to look a little bit sketchy for us here. I'm pretty sure I just like straight up parried that guy's bash without die by the sword or anything, which is pretty lucky for me. But I'm also able to pummel his Cyclone because he's so close by me. Out of the lockout from the pummel, we're going to hit him with a Wyvern Sting and Hodge the Rogue as well. That's pretty much going to leave the mage in another 3v1 situation. The Rogue does kidney me to peel, but it's already too late at that point. We've hit him with an Avatar Execute, and the mage goes down. So basically the idea when you're playing against RMD is to try to be as disruptive as possible to their setups. RMD setups are definitely something to be feared, but something that you can look out for. When you play up against a really, really good RMD who's playing super sharp, like I mentioned, it's really tough to stop that sort of thing. But if you can break up those CC chains, especially with the stopping of cross CC, that's when things start to get a little bit more in your favor, and when you can turn things around a little bit. But anyway, up in this next match, we're going to be facing an RLS. Not something that you see super often, but definitely something that can be pretty scary. And one of the things to look out for against any sort of Warlock team is if you see an opportunity to kill that Observer Pet, do it. Not only will the Lock take more damage, he also won't have his counterspell ability to lock out your healer. So it's a really nice offensive and defensive perk to your team if you can get that pet kill. Now, I don't recommend just straight up tunneling it. One, because the healer will probably heal it. Two, it's not super hard to resummon it, but just if you see an opportunity, go ahead and take it out. Same thing for totems like that, like Healing Stream, Healing Tide totems, those sorts of things. Definitely take the opportunity to knock those totems down. It's a small thing, but it ends up being really a big deal in the long game in terms of the total healing output the enemy team Shaman can do. So far in this game, we've been able to get a few cooldowns out of the enemy team. We've been able to force the Spirit Link and the healing cooldowns out of the Warlock. Still don't have the Shaman's Trinket though. Most likely he's using that for his last Trinket Link setup. Taking a look at our team's health bars, my Hunter is really, really low, and my Paladin is forced to bubble. But KFC, sometimes you gotta trade some cooldowns, and we do force a second Spirit Link out of the Shaman For me, I've got stun coming up and avatar, so this is a really good time for me. I'm about to do some serious damage to this lock, maybe even just kill him through all of this. We're going to take that lock right out. So once again, pretty much any time you see KFC win, it's not usually a situation where you have like full health bars, you're just absolutely dominating the enemy team. A lot of times it's about trading, staying alive long enough, and scoring a kill once your CC and burst damage rolls around again. And that's exactly what happened here. As you can see, it's not the strongest comp, but it is a lot of fun, and if you can play it well, I think you guys are going to enjoy it. Either way, guys, thank you very much for watching this arena commentary video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Leave me some comments. Leave me some feedback below. Subscribe for more. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!